So I think after 9 months of being in a global pandemic, I've finally cracked. This may be a very short-lived experiment, but I'm still gonna give it a go. If you watch these, great. If you don't, it's not really for you, it's for me. Because I haven't really held myself accountable to stick with hobbies that I really enjoy doing, and one of those is baking. And why not use my platform to do this? Because I sit and teach athletes how to do this as my job or give them opportunities, so why not do it for myself? See how it goes. See if I can actually live up to the standard that I'm hoping that they achieve. I don't exactly know the direction this is going to go quite yet, but I know I'm obsessed with French baking, and since we're in a pandemic, I have to feed myself, so this is what I want to eat. But there's just something about French baking with the meticulous and precise and just beautiful presentations that I just like am absolutely obsessed with. When you bring those desserts into somebody's house that people just like stop in their tracks, they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. First the flavor's good and then they're just beautiful. So one of the first things I ever made was macaroons, and the first time I made them, nailed it. It was for a test for a bachelorette party. The second time I made them, didn't turn out as great. The second big French bake I made was a croquant bouche, which I'll show a picture here maybe, or I don't know, maybe it'll be separate. I have not been consistent in one of the core parts of baking, at least for French baking, a choux pastry. Something that should be easy and repeatable, I have failed at. And I don't know if it's because I've used different ovens, if I just don't have the technique down right. So we'll see if this even goes well today. This could be a massive failure and I'm gonna be crying. But I also kind of want to show failure too, because this is what happens when you're baking. Things don't go perfectly. Obviously, anyone who's a fan of the Great British Bake Off, like I wouldn't put myself at their level at all. But even the people who are the best home cooks still make mistakes. So I'm gonna do that, and hopefully I use I'm using a new recipe. Hopefully it works. And then I'll just put a plain creme pat in it. I'll do a vanilla and an espresso because I have some espresso. And if that espresso is expired, which it might be, then no espresso and just vanilla. First, we're going to start by making the creme patisserie. I'm just going to call it creme pat because I think I botched how you pronounce that. All you're going to need is milk. Anytime you use milk in a bake, use whole milk. It does make a really big difference. We're not trying to make this healthy. I don't think that desserts need to be healthy unless like you're gluten intolerant, then you should be careful of that. Packers just scored, sorry, I'm watching the game in the background. And then you need 6 egg yolks. Make sure the egg yolks are at room temperature. Room temperature eggs will make a big difference in your bakes. Then you just need cornstarch, flour, and then caster sugar or baking sugar. I have baker sugar. It's a lot finer. Apparently, according to the box, it blends and dissolves faster and smoother. So this is what we're gonna go with. You'll also need preferably a vanilla pod. I am going to use vanilla extract because we are on a budget. And then I said I was gonna do espresso. Turns out the espresso expired in 2018. So we're gonna do cocoa powder instead. I'll still treat myself to 2 different flavors. So we'll have vanilla and chocolate. I don't have clear bowls, so you can't really see what I'm doing. So instead I'll just show you like the consistencies you should see if you do this correctly. But again, it's Mary Berry's recipe for choux pastry and creme pat. So if you really, really, really want to know exactly what this is, just Google it. So as I said before, you should use a vanilla pod, and this recipe asks for a vanilla pod, but instead I'm going to use vanilla extract, and this is a very cheap vanilla extract. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons, should be about the equivalent of a vanilla pod. So worst case, it's a little too vanilla-y. I don't think there's a problem with that. Little tip, use wooden spoons as much as possible because allegedly plastic and metals add flavor. And we don't want that, wooden spoons do not. Okay, so now we have 2 lovely custards, chocolate and a vanilla. The next thing what we're gonna do is insulate it with plastic wrap to put in the fridge to cool. I do a double insulation, and I think, all this stuff is me guessing and remembering why I did it. But the first film wrap goes and it actually like touches the top of the custard, so I think it prevents a film from emerging when it's cooling. And then I just go over it again with another plastic wrap. Okay, so the creme pat is in the fridge, cooling. I probably at minimum 15 minutes at most. There is no at most, so those will probably be in there for about an hour or 30 minutes or so. Now we move on to the dreaded choux pastry after I clean up my space a little bit. Well, it's time for the choux pastry, my favorite thing to make. Even when you hear these ingredients, you're gonna think, why the heck does she struggle so much? But it's water, flour, butter, unsalted. I typically use salted butter, but Mary Berry wants unsalted, so I'm gonna trust her opinion on this. And then 2 eggs for her recipe. Actually, before I pause it, I don't want to add with the flavor too. This is very, very plain compared to other ones I made. I really do think I would use salted butter next time. But again, I'm happy. This is good. I'm gonna break my rule here because I just wanted to show off a spatula. So my friend Kelly actually gave me these for Christmas a couple years back. I love them. Nothing makes me happier than when I do a good job with baking, honestly. So that was fun. I don't know. We'll see if we do another one of these. If you want to see another one, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. I might try like a little bit harder to bake. I personally don't like cake, so I don't know if there would be a purpose of me making anything that's cake related unless I went to drop it off at somebody's door, which isn't out of the question. I'm sure there's a couple friends who wouldn't mind eating some cake. Yeah, I mean, like I said, well, it depends on how this is received, if I should do it more or not, if I'm gonna lose a bunch of Instagram followers or whatever, so be it. Sorry, you chose to be friends with me. That's it for now. I'll see you next time. Ça me fait quelque chose.